evening. The radical left severely messed up once again, like they always do. They let us get to Friday. Idiots. It's May 22nd, 2026. My name is Jake Maaske, and welcome to the Debateless News Rundown. Shoot us a follow at Debateless, drop a comment, just let us know how you feel. And tonight, I have a colorful variety of activities and headlines, some updates on the massive fraud schemes going on in Minnesota, everyone's favorite dysfunctional Midwestern state. Finally, a self-identified America First candidate is getting his chance on the debate stage. A new Fed chair has been sworn in. Waymo's just straight up full sending into flooded streets, and a whole HR team has been let go. So let's get right into it in Minnesota. Former Feeding Our Future Executive Director Amy Bach has a 42-year prison sentence awaiting her, the longest sentence of 60 people associated in this case, after attempting to steal $250 million of federal funds. Now, this money, so we have multiple in Minnesota now. Now that everyone knows about the Minnesota fraud that has been neglected, there's multiple cases everywhere. This one was when the money was distributed during COVID and was intended to spot meals for children. And every headline, too, I see of this is just goofy. Just calls her like this deviant, mastermind. This devious mastermind. Which, I find funny because if she was really a mastermind, she wouldn't get caught. Not very much of a mastermind, if you ask me. And of course, she goes on to talk about how horrible she feels or whatever. As if everyone doesn't say that once they're caught. None of them actually feel bad about what they did. She doesn't feel bad. She feels bad about getting caught. Just lack of integrity. That's all it is. But yeah, just one of the many fraud schemes being uprooted in the state. Just unfortunate how Minnesota leadership has just straight up neglected it. And speaking of more fraud, this one's a doozy. Yesterday I mentioned how one of the Somali fraudsters from the Leering Center was on the run. Well, they got him swiftly. Look at this goofball. He's like carrying his shoes. Good riddance. Omar, the name of the guy, got off with $3.6 million. Won't do him much good in prison. However, it's just so awesome, so cool, too, how they always use the needs of children. They use it's going to the kids, it's going to the kids. And they're the ones getting exploited every time. Just so great. I mean, how else would old Omar afford his Mercedes-Benz that he bought with his fraud money? Like, of course, that's a need. He needs that Mercedes-Benz. It's not a want. He needs it. I was thinking if Nick Shirley just doesn't do what he did, all of this would still be going on. God bless the kid. And here, I'll just rip on you, Minnesota. Yeah, your government's an overall disgrace, and your state deserves the championship drought in sports ball land. Suck it. On to the next one. Oh, this is an interesting one. This one's a fun one. Avert your eyes from lame Minnesota to Florida, because Tuesday, July 21st, James Fishback and Byron Donalds will be squaring off in a debate hosted by Fox. And I think to myself, finally, one of these big dogs, one of these self-proclaimed America First candidates gets a shot on the debate stage. It's about time. I guess I'll point it out. I say self-proclaimed, I say self-identified, because apparently the term America First is going through an identity crisis across commentary land and land of the politicians. You got politicians trying to get in on this AF activity. It's just an identity crisis. So I just say the new right. It falls within my thesis that we are leaving the neocon era, which I talk about on Disclosed Nation. So we just go by new right, but if they call themselves America First, sure. But back to the debates, like Casey Putsch didn't get a debate. I would have paid to see Putsch versus Vivek. That would be prime time. Just imagine, that was stolen from us. We deserved Putsch and Vivek debate. Maaske, literally an incumbent, didn't get a debate, denied 8 times. Still lost, but it's silly. Like, why? Come on, give it to us. But Fishback evidently has the motion to get up there. I'm thinking Donald's has raised tens of millions to fight Fishback. Fishback clearly a threat now in the state of Florida. He's, again, crazy popular with younger people, with Gen Z. He'll just say, yep, headed to Popeyes, headed to the Sinclair gas station, and just fill it up. Like, it would just be full of people. High energy, great speaker, and just, yeah, super proactive. He's doing his thing. I even saw, okay, grain of salt here, because it's a poll. A poll is a poll. I think of the one in 2024 where there was a poll that Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa by 3 points. A poll is a poll, but hey, I did see one where Gen Xers, elder Gen Xers to be more specific, were supporting Fishback more than Donald's. Definitely leaning in the Fishback direction. But hey, poll's a poll, but hey, if I hadn't made it clear, I'm pretty sure I've made it obvious, I want to see Fishback succeed. I want to see the test run of a guy like him winning. I want to see what it looks like. And who else but Florida Man to make it happen? Written in the stars. Of course, Florida Man would be the one to push Fishback up there. And he talks a big game. That's why. I want to see it in action, because he talks big game. I want to see what this new right looks like. But this will be his time to shine and really close the gap, this debate. It's roughly a month before the Florida primary. One of the later ones, August 18th, is the primary election day. So we'll see how it goes. Pay attention to that one. Now, we got a new Fed chair. How about that? Kevin Warsh was just sworn in as the new Fed chair, first one since 1987 to be sworn in at the White House. You got Trump quoting here, "I want Kevin to be totally independent to do a great job. Wants him to do his own thing." Very Trumpy. The Trumpy mannerisms always are sticking around. But here's the spot he's in. This is he's getting tossed to the wolves right off rip. Got rising inflation, got a pressured labor market, war in Iran has made for a volatile global economy. Overall high pressure spot, NBC here, talking about rate cuts. They don't think they're likely. I personally don't know. I know a thing or two in economics. I'm no mastermind by any means, though. I just know, it's worth mentioning, talking about, everyone talks about rate cuts, big for investors, big for business owners, We'll just see how it plays out with this Warsh guy. We're gonna, we'll be able to judge based on performance. But hey, new Fed chair, Powell is gone. Now, got some goofy ones for you. I didn't even know what a Waymo was until I left Nebraska. Like, oh yeah, they're just self-driving cars. It's like, what? It's like you're telling me you just don't hop into Ford F-150 and take your butt home? Like, no, they got Waymos here. But hey, they've gone rogue. They don't fear the rain. Check this out. This is hilarious. This is in Atlanta. I'll move out of the way. Look at that. Hang it in the Smithsonian. No, not the Lever, however you may say it. It doesn't matter. I'm American. Put it in the Smithsonian. Look at this brave robot. The little bot that could just take what an action shot. I'm just going to guess it got stuck. I only have the picture. But the future is now, old man. Well, or really, is it? The Waymos have been paused in San Francisco, Atlanta, LA, Phoenix, and Miami for various reasons beyond just flooding. And this just comes with the technological revolution that we're experiencing. We aren't that deep into the future yet. This is very trial and error. Self-driving cars, very new. It's cool. Like, it's a neat idea. It just clearly isn't all the way there yet. But yeah, the little Waymo that could. Maybe they'll figure out how to get through it. Maybe the flooding won't be a problem in the future. Who knows? And finally, I got this is a silly one. Bolt CEO lets go of his entire HR team for creating problems that didn't exist. That's just a funny headline. He complains about him being entitled, didn't get anything done, just making shit up to do. There, we'll back up a bit. Let's talk HR. What even is HR? We all know the modern definition, but hey, Where'd it come from? Because it used to be labor relations. That's what it used to be called, LR. Early 1900s, think of this, dangerous work sites. The idea, okay, maybe we should minimize work deaths, progressive era of America. And eventually evolved into more of a recruitment role during the World Wars, just addressing labor shortages overall. So that's why they're, a part of the recruitment process today, started back then. And then, began to warp more what it is today through the Civil Rights era with workplace equality laws. And eventually it was finally called HR in the 80s to take its final form as what we know it today. The whole, company culture, employee well-being, like we're a family, like that type of ordeal. Which, hey, there are positives. I'm not going to completely bash on the concept of HR. Like, yes, minimizing sexual harassment now that women are in the workplace. That is a whole nother conversation for another time, though. And the whole taking care of your own mentality, mental well-being. You don't want an office full of a bunch of people that are just severely mentally ill. You want to take care of your own. Like, that makes sense. That's fine. But yeah, you'll hear stories of dudes getting fired over jokes, like the whole, I just got an email from HR the other day. Sounds like they think my joke's pretty funny. They want to hear it, immediately get the boot or whatever. And like I mentioned before, HR doesn't normally make the final call on hiring people nowadays, but they're a part of the recruitment process. You've seen the like, we have 1 billion qualified candidates, whatever. Like, there's memes about this. Like, God forbid you're trying to get hired and you just run into some old hag HR lady just turning you down for some BS. I didn't like your attitude. It's like you could be completely qualified. And it probably isn't even your attitude. They're just, again, making shit up. Because I believe this guy. I'm sure they weren't doing shit. Like, I've seen a lot of people, call it some daycare activity, a certain type of daycare, but we won't get into that right now. But I completely believe the guy. But just a silly little story here, just creating problems that didn't exist. And now they're gone. Yeah, those problems disappeared when I let them go. Just goofy. But thank you for tuning in to the Debateless News Rundown. Give us some love. Shoot us a follow at Debateless. Drop a comment, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Follow me as well at Jake Maaske, JakeMaaske. Have a good rest of your evening, have a good weekend, and stay blessed.